Hey everybody, John the Other here, obviously. And in my last video, I had a couple of people in the comments thread asking me to address the arguments, I say that provisionally, of another YouTuber calling herself Jenny Mcdermott. And then further down in the same comments thread, I had a feminist going to some great lengths to try to distinguish herself from Jenny Mcdermott because this other feminist, who I find objectionable, saw the public antics of the Mcdermott and Laughing Witch and Bewildered Ape crowd and said, well, they're so outlandish and toxic that I'm not like them. This other feminist. I'm not going to bother with the names. And from my point of view, they're all the same. I don't really see a big difference, but I am going to address the arguments of Mcdermott. And before I do, I want to just say to people commenting, please don't call Jenny Mcdermott a transvestite. It's unkind. It's uncalled for. I'm pretty sure she's not one, so let's just not go there, okay? Hi, Jenny. This is John the Other, obviously. And I have a couple of questions for you, which I'll get to shortly. But before I do, I've kind of got to bring everybody up to speed who are joining this conversation late. So here's the précis. Now, for those one or two people who don't know the story, Thunderfoot is a very popular YouTube channel who built up a subscriber base doing science videos, educational, as well as criticizing the radical and screwball elements of major religions, including Christianity, Islam, and feminism. Yes, that's a religion. And where Thunderfoot has got himself into, I guess, hot water with the feminist crowd is where he pointed out that Anita Sarkeesian, who's gathered a lot of money and fame and influence and power, is a scammer, a liar, a grifter, a con artist, and purports to be constantly under threat and, in fact, encourages people to threaten her. She goes trolling and tries to get people to send her threatening, emails and messages and stuff like that, because that's how she continues to get her victim narrative going. That's like her little song and dance routine. She's a scammer. Thunderfoot pointed it out. The feminists don't like that, therefore, bad Thunderfoot, right? Except it doesn't end with just bad Thunderfoot. What they did is they engaged in a letter-writing campaign contacting his employer, claiming he was a Nazi, a rape apologist, a misogynist, a racist against a religion. Woohoo, that's good. And attempted to get him fired and disrupt his life. Like, they attempted to ruin his life because he criticizes their toxic and insane religion. As well as publicly remarking in a series of videos that Anita Sarkeesian is a scammer, a con artist, and a grifter, which she is. And that's how all of this drama began. So I do have now some questions for Jenny Mcdermott.
Grown adult and chemist Dr. Philip Mason, also known as Thunderfoot, has harassed another woman online.
So my first question, Jenny, is how do you define the word harass as you are using it here? Because do you define harass meaning has gone on YouTube with a video criticizing the public statements and public work of another public figure? Does that count as harassment? Or do you mean has, contacted their employer and defamed them with fraudulent accusations of being a Nazi and, rape apologist and stuff? I'm just interested to know how you define the word harassment so that it doesn't encompass what you're doing and not what he's doing. Just a question. By the way, before we continue, I am absolutely delighted that you took my earlier advice and did not back down and are doubling down on your honestly amazing public antics. But let's continue.
Here's a chronological chart that will more accurately describe the situation taking place at current. First, Thunderfoot attacks and harasses feminists.
No. Sorry, that's incorrect. Dr. Phil Mason was a part of the online atheist community, which was infiltrated and taken over by feminists, and he offered a series of criticisms and objections to that takeover and infiltration. It wasn't just, he decided one day to start attacking feminists or attacking women. I'm surprised you didn't go for attacking women. That would have been more inflammatory than just attacking feminists. But also, your chart is not a chronological chart. It's a circular chart, as anyone looking at it can see. And I think it's circular because it reflects your circular reasoning. Now, it's one thing to actually have circular reasoning. It's quite another to make a diagram displaying to the world that your reasoning is circular and then uploading that as if that somehow supports your argument. Are you sure you thought this through? I have prepared for you a chronological chart. Not a very good one. I was in a hurry, but this is just to show you what a chronological chart is structured like. I'm sure people can do better ones than this. Okay, here we go. 2012, Anita Sarkeesian uploads a YouTube video announcing a crowdfunding campaign to expose the imaginary culture of misogyny in video gaming. Later in 2012, Sarkeesian trolls the 4chan online community, who, being cooperative and civic-minded sorts, obligingly post a large volume of insults and ad hominem attacks towards her in the form of YouTube comments and tweets, and public wishes for her misfortune, including some of which can be interpreted as death or rape threats. Welcome to the internet. You're not special, Anita. That's what happens when you troll people, and you know it, which is why you keep trolling them so that you can have a stream of online insults to use in your make-believe victim narrative. 2012 later still, Anita, previously complaining of the damsel trope in video games, goes into full damsel mode herself and makes off like a bandit, with about $160,000 from a Kickstarter which only claimed to be seeking $6,000. Add a rinse and repeat cycle in here because trolling for and then getting internet backlash is Sarkeesian's primary activity, which she then plays up as if she's terribly victimized and uses that fake victimhood to get money and more social power. I think her donators are actually the victims, but they're not rape victims, they're just victims of fraud and robbery, so too bad for them. Enter from stage left the villain, Herr Dr. Mason. Phil Mason, PhD, science education video producer and social critic, uploads a series of videos exposing Anita Sarkeesian for the fraud, grifter, and scam artist that she is. Fast forward a few years to 2014, Sarkeesian, still with no knowledge of video games or gaming culture, is now a regular paid speaker on the topic of imaginary victimhood, on the topic of video games, and boosts her own fame by having her friends call in a fake bomb threat at one of her events. No arrests are ever made, and no suspects or persons of interest are ever uncovered in the media. It was probably not Dr. Philip the Sarkeesian bomber Mason, though. Sarkeesian continues to play act at being a brave, poor little girl who just wanted to exploit everybody's credulity, to expose everybody's misogyny. She eventually toddles off to the United Nations to enjoy their rapt attention while she calls for international laws to be passed for the silencing of anyone who criticizes or insults her, and that would include me, because I continue to assert that she's a liar, a scammer, a scumbag, and not a victim of any sort. What happens next is Sarkeesian supporters, which by the way is a dehumanizing term, begin a letter-writing campaign to have Dr. Mason fired from his job and to disrupt his life or destroy it to the best of their ability. In this endeavor, they accuse him of being a Nazi, they accuse his YouTube subscribers of being Nazis, and they accuse him of, quote, attacking Sarkeesian as if his criticism of her fraud is equivalent to some sort of interpersonal violence. And then they pretend, they being the Anita Sarkeesian supporters, which is a dehumanizing term apparently, they pretend to be the victims when Dr. Mason responds online, including his re-upload of the self-doxing of one of his harassers. And just so that everybody understands the words that we are using and what they mean, writing letters to somebody's employer, fraudulently accusing him of Nazism, of stalking, and incitement to violence is harassment. So that's, a chronological chart in contrast to what you put up in your video, which was a circular chart indicating circular causality. Now, just to be clear, if somebody's making public statements like in the form of YouTube videos and you then make your own public statements criticizing them or, calling into question the veracity of what they're saying, that doesn't really count as harassment because they're making public statements, they're a public figure, you're making public statements, everybody's got an opinion. That doesn't really count as harassment. What counts as harassment is when you then go to, say, their employer or their family or their professional colleagues with like a letter writing campaign or something outlandish. Let's say you were like totally crazy and you said they were a Nazi or that they supported the violent crime of rape or some other completely off the wall thing, and like behind the scenes contacted their employers with that. Like that would be harassment and probably crossing the boundary into criminal behavior too. But just criticizing somebody in public who is also a public figure doesn't count as harassment. And I just wanted to be clear we understood what these terms meant, because there seems to be a little confusion. And I really do want to help. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, Jenny, is you seem to have a rather loose grip of the concepts of causality and personal responsibility. Let's play a clip from your video.
He makes these videos for a very large audience, and some of them have over 1 million views. The regular viewers watch and then travel between Twitter and YouTube, harassing Sarkeesian and making other videos parodying the things Thunderfoot has made up. This results in death and rape threats daily and a bomb threat received at a speaking engagement.
Now, you're talking about the criticisms that Dr. Mason uploads of the fraudster and scammer Sarkeesian, and that he has quite a large audience when he makes these criticisms, both of which are true. You run into trouble when you say this results in, because you're talking about the entire internet, some of whom, some of the people on the internet send emails and tweets and other critical, insulting, and sometimes threatening comments to Sarkeesian, which, by the way, we are taking on faith, because we've never seen them. We're going to just take that on faith. But you're saying this results in, as if all that behavior is the all-powerful Dr. Phil Mason puppeteering people. It's not like people independent of each other can come to a conclusion looking at Anita Sarkeesian and go, well, there's a scammer and a con artist and a scumbag, and I'm going to send her a nasty comment. You're tying the behavior of the broader public to one guy. I mean, I think you're giving him too much credit, powerful and all-seeing, all-knowing that he is. Now, the next thing you say is really funny.
And people took it upon themselves to write and send letters questioning Mason's behavior to his employer.
You talk about Bewildered Ape, who apparently did a parody video of Thunderfoot, and that Bewildered Ape's fans, inspired by him, sent letters to Dr. Mason's employers and so on. And you point out correctly, by the way, that Bewildered Ape is not responsible for the behavior of his followers. But you say that immediately after having said that Dr. Mason is responsible for the behavior of his followers. You see how there's like that double think there? One set of standards for one person, a different set of standards for someone else. But let's move forward, because one of the next things you say I find totally daffy.
And has now made another video where he dehumanizes the individuals involved by simply calling us Sarkeesian supporters.
How is it that being an Anita Sarkeesian supporter, or being called that, dehumanizes you? I mean, do you know what the word dehumanizes means? If being called an Anita Sarkeesian supporter is dehumanizing, what you're saying, not Thunderfoot, you, is that Anita Sarkeesian supporters are less than or not human. That's you saying that by claiming the term Anita Sarkeesian supporter is a dehumanizing term. Do you not understand how words work?
He is playing the victim hardcore, and supposedly all in the name of free speech.
This is hysterical. Jenny Mcdermott is claiming that Phil Mason, Dr. Mason, Thunderfoot, is playing the victim, that he's playing the victim. Meanwhile, she's attempting to make him the victim by getting him fired and harassing him through his employers. He's doing a video and has done several videos saying he can't be fired, he can't be victimized, he isn't the victim. And yet, in this narrative, he's playing the victim, while Jenny is claiming to be the harassed person, the victim. It's insane. It's backwards. It's upside down.
That allowed him to make a video admitting to doing a search for Laughing Witch online.
Yes, he admitted to doing a search for Laughing Witch online, who published her own name in her own video and uploaded it to her own channel after, in her own name, sending a slanderous letter to his employer. You think he did something wrong? Are you insane? Well, that's a rhetorical question, isn't it?
After finding the business she owns and runs, doxed her business in his video, and even showed fans how to go to Yelp and leave false negative reviews.
Now, for everybody else watching this, I'm going to try to explain something that actually took me a long time to understand. The moral position that Jenny Mcdermott and Anita Sarkeesian and all of these other social justice women warriors have is that they can attack you, they can slander you, they can physically assault you, they can lie to your employer. Nazi, I mean, come on. Godwin's Law, anyone? They can do anything, any moral transgression, any physical assault, any absurd, grotesque, foul, disgusting, despicable behavior. They're permitted, they're morally obligated, they're exempt. In fact, something that is morally repulsive, if they do it, becomes good because of who does it. And if you are the subject of an attack from them, you're assaulted or they slander you or whatever, you can't act in your own defense. You cannot criticize them. You cannot, somebody's attacking you, you can't Google their name or publish what they're doing. You can't just do common citizen journalism because and this is where it's really hard to follow, that is the equivalent of you initiating violence against them in person in their moral system. So they can do anything, any egregious, disgusting, criminal, violent, nasty, malevolent thing, and that's fine. You can't defend yourself. That's their understanding of morality. That's why Jenny Mcdermott appears to be so totally insane. That's the lens through which she sees reality.
But is Philip Mason truly expressing free speech? Or was it free speech originally expressed by ape and witch?
Now, at this point in the video, Jenny thinks she's a lawyer. She starts talking about constitutional law, what's free speech, what's not, what's protected, where the boundaries of criminal behavior are. Jenny Mcdermott, whatever your actual name is, stop talking, stop doing videos, get yourself a lawyer, play all these videos for that lawyer, explain your position, and don't do anything until that lawyer advises you. I'm serious. This isn't the part of the video where I'm making fun of you. This is really, really serious advice. You need a lawyer, okay? Before you do anything else. But let's go back to the video now.
And she has received over 100 nasty comments that could harm her business.
Jenny Mcdermott here is talking about Laughing Witch, who doxed herself, put her own name in a video, and then uploaded it herself. And Thunderfoot, yeah, okay, so he showed someone how to do a Google search. Nobody knew how to do that before he, did that in his video. And as a result, of course, there have been more than 100 negative comments on the Yelp page for the business that Laughing Witch runs on behalf of the actual owner, her husband. And I guess they've taken their site down. This is called blowback. It's not because Thunderfoot commanded his hate army to go, slash and burn their business. It's because Laughing Witch made herself in the public eye an immoral monster. She made herself a public villain. She did that. She uploaded her own video. She bragged about doing something that most people find grotesque and immoral. And the public response is blowback, right? This apparently is beyond the comprehension of Jenny Mcdermott and Laughing Witch and their friends. But there's one more thing, just one last thing. I'm skipping forward, I'm leaving out a lot of stuff in the video that I want to talk about, and that's coming next.
Here are my conditions. I haven't sent these letters yet and will not if Thunderfoot makes a video apologizing, explaining that online bullying is wrong and illegal, and tells his fans to be respectful and stop acting like an evil empire.
That unless Dr. Phil Mason apologizes on the behalf of the wider internet, because he's apparently responsible for them all, she's going to publish more letters, send them to more people, to media outlets, to Comedy Central, to the FBI, to the International Illuminati Conspiracy of All-Seeing Eyes, and who knows what, to the United Nations, and etc., to the Galactic Federation of Planets. All the letters going all the time, unless Phil Mason stops the rest of the internet from criticizing Jenny Mcdermott, Laughing Witch, and Anita Sarkeesian, and so on. Do what I say, that is impossible, or else. Game on, Jenny. Game on.
If I receive 50 upvotes, then that means that you, my allies in feminism and social justice, have voted in the affirmative that you wish for me to send these letters, as well as other letters to the media. However, if I receive 1,000 or more downvotes, I will consider this harassment and send the letters anyway. The choice is yours. Thunderfoot and online harassers subscribe to him. Choose wisely.
This is so funny to me. So, let's just break down these logical rules. If she got 50 upvotes, that's yes, send all these defamatory, slanderous letters to media and police forces and galactic empires and so on. But if she got 1,000 or more downvotes, also send the letters. So the only condition that she has allowed that she won't send the letters is if she gets less than 50 upvotes and less than 1,000 downvotes. Now, at the time that I saw this, she already had 80 upvotes and 900 downvotes. And by the time I finished recording, like, the first part of this, she'd already done the letter and said she sent the stuff. But it's beautiful because although she's sending these slanderous letters to all these different people and demanding that people enact some sort of action against Dr. Mason on her behalf, she has distanced herself from responsibility because she set these triggers, right? If I get 50 upvotes, then the letters go. And if I get 800 or 1,000 downvotes, the letters go. Oh, Jenny, blowback is coming. You're not going to like it, but the rest of us find it quite funny. Carry on. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop. Be strong, Jenny. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a lovely day.